In this demo, Northwind Industries is preparing for the integration of Coastline Group. The deal has closed and day one is now 90 days away. Priya leads M&A and is responsible for making sure the integration moves forward across finance, HR, and legal without losing control of who is working on what. That is exactly where this gets hard. An acquisition creates urgency, but it also creates sensitivity. Teams need to move in parallel, ask questions quickly, and use AI to accelerate their work. At the same time, they should not all be pushed into one broad shared workspace where context, responsibility, and access boundaries start to blur. What Workrooms gives Northwind is a structured way to collaborate with AI while keeping the working boundary intact. Each function gets its own secure place to work, ownership is clear, participation is clear, access is clear. What you're looking at is how Northwind organizes day one planning through separate workrooms. Finance has its own room, HR has its own room, and legal has its own room. Each of those teams has a different job to do, a different working context, and different sensitivity around the information they are handling. They need to coordinate, but they should not automatically inherit each other's access just because they are all involved in the same acquisition. That is why the room matters. Priya can oversee the effort across functions, but the work itself still stays grounded in clear, governed collaboration boundaries. Let's move into the finance workroom details, where the team is preparing day one assumptions and using Kaizen to support the integration planning process. This is where the story becomes more concrete. Priya is not just looking at a generic collaboration space. She can immediately see who owns the room, whether the room is active, who is a member, and how sharing is controlled. That matters because in an M&A setting, finance work moves fast, but leadership still needs confidence that the right people are in the room and that access is being managed intentionally. Those details are not just administrative metadata. They are what makes the room trustworthy. Priya can see that the finance team is working in the right place, with the right people, under the right level of control. Now we are inside the finance workroom, where the team is actively working through day one questions together with Kaizen. The important thing here is not just that there is a thread, list, or conversation history. The important thing is that the finance team is collaborating inside one shared context. David, Marcus, and the rest of the team can see the same history, the same room local discussion, the same queue of work, and the same handoff state as they move through the integration planning. That changes the quality of the work. Instead of scattering prompts and follow-up questions across private chats, email threads, or isolated AI sessions, the team is building one shared working record. They stay aligned around the same assumptions, they can hand off work without losing context, and Priya can understand how the planning and processing is going without having to reconstruct it afterwards. The thread list shows that the room can support parallel finance workstreams. The conversation history shows that the team is building on shared context rather than duplicating effort. Shared AI turns makes it clear how the team coordinates who is driving the next step with Kaizen. And the event timeline preserves visibility into how the room activity is unfolding over time. For day one planning, that means better continuity, better accountability, and less friction in getting to the answer. This is the same finance room, but now the focus shifts from collaboration to trust boundaries. In an integration, the team needs to move quickly, but that does not mean everyone should automatically inherit the same access just because they are in the same room. A shared room should not silently become a shared identity. That is what this view makes visible. It shows what I can run in my own access. It shows what the room can use safely as shared access, and it shows what stays blocked because it depends on someone else's private credential. That distinction is important. It means the finance team can collaborate with Kaizen in one place, but the system still preserves the difference between shared work and private authority. Northwind gets speed without giving up control. This is the trust boundary made visible. The room is shared, the work is shared, but private access is not silently borrowed across the room. Under the hood, those boundaries are enforced based on the user's relationship to the resource, rather than collapsing everything into one shared identity. Now back to the manager. From Priya's perspective, the outcome is straightforward. She does not need one massive room where every team sees everything and every conversation collapses into one shared feed. She needs a structured way to move across the integration effort, understand what function is doing, and keep the work accountable. That is what Workrooms provides. The room becomes the collaboration boundary, access is intentional, collaboration is shared, attribution remains visible, and Kaizen operates inside that boundary instead of around it.